Am I live? Am I live yet? I'm waiting to see if I'm live. I think I'm live. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Oh, I see a commercial. So all this is probably going to start playing. Yeah.
I see you on there now.
Oh, I forgot. If you have YouTube Premium, though, then I'm already live, so never mind.
Yeah.
But hey, welcome back to the channel. I am using StreamYard tonight, which is totally out of character for me, but I'm trying to do it so that I make the show a little bit easier to access for my guests. And speaking of guests, tonight I have with me Mr. Ballistik Coffee Boy, the Atari man himself. Welcome aboard.
Hello, how you doing?
Very good. And I also have my Stanley with my cup of coffee, probably getting lead poisoning, but okay.
Very nice.
So it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And let me just say hi to the chat. Hi, chat. I see, let's see. We had Jason in here, my mod, and one of my mods. And let's see, Ethicade, Alex, Andy's Game Room. What speed limits? Oh, Anime Michael, Obsidian Contraption, what's up? Anyways, for those of you who are here, good to see you. Tonight we have a fun-filled episode of Atari talk and gaming history when it comes to Atari. And I'm going to pick Mr. Ballistik Coffee Boys over here. I'm going to pick his brain tonight about Atari stuff. And we're also going to, share other shenanigans too.
Nice.
So, anyways, please introduce yourself for everybody and tell us a little bit about your history with Atari.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm a fan of your show, of your channel, Jade. I've been in your chats here and there, and I just think you're great. So, let me get that out of the way. And you didn't pay me to say that, but yeah, I just love your stuff. So keep it up. But yeah, so my, I wish I'd started YouTube a long time ago, but just kind of before that, I guess we got our first 2600 when I was 6 or 7, and PacMan was coming out, and it was National PacMan Day. And I remember waiting in line with my dad for PacMan 2600 at Skaggs Alpha Beta, which was a grocery store down in near Dallas, where I was born. And I remember Dad paid $45 for it, and that was like 81 or 82 or something.
Yeah,
that's like $150. But yeah, I remember sitting in the sweltering heat, and I was excited because we just got our Sears Video Arcade, and we had Asteroids and Steeplechase because my dad liked horses, and that was a Sears only exclusive game, really early. But yeah, so got home and just played those to death, and then I loved Atari, from then on, at least for 2 or 3 years. We had Qbert, Pitfall, Space Invaders, just so many, video pinball, just so many memories of my sister playing Journey Escape in the corner and me sitting there playing Pitfall by myself, with the wood paneled walls and the fake walls and the shag carpeting and all of it.
Yeah.
And I can smell the like Cheetos and my dad's cigarette smoke in the room, but just so many good memories. And basically my dad's mother passed away. It's a long story. I talked about it on my channel somewhat, but when that happened, we moved to East Texas, and and there were no video game stores around. We really didn't have anything like an arcade out there, which I had also grown up in the arcades, in like Aladdin's Castle and all that stuff, and Tilt. But I was young, so I was a 7-8-year-old boy. All the kids are lined up to play Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and like kicking me out of the way. So I didn't get to play a lot of games because I was little. So I would come home and play my Pac-Man 2600. which is funny because I have friends that just hate that game. Retro Bliss Gaming being one. But to
The
me, it was Pac.
2600 version.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I was 7, so to me that was Pac-Man. I didn't know any
Hmm.
better, right?
Right.
So I will defend it to this day because it's when I hear those bloops and bleeps, it takes me back to being a 7-year-old, and it's a fun game to me. But anyway, so then I kind of got out of home consoles. It was 84, 85. I was into GI Joes and Transformers and He-Man and all that. The WWF wrestlers,
Oh
and
yeah.
GoBots. So yeah, I got really into toys, and I I still remember Christmas of '86. I got the Cobra Terradrome, which is this big castle, like this big, like huge, and it was a GI Joe. It was a Cobra Fortress, right? And GI Joe. And whenever I saw that, I just about wet my pants. I was like, oh my god. So I also like toys as well, action figures and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. So then I had a TI 994A Texas Instruments computer, and I wanted an Atari, and my dad was too expensive. I wanted an Apple, it was too expensive, so I got that. And I first programmed on it when I was 7 out of a computer programming book. I didn't know how to save anything, so I just typed it all in by hand. And if I made a mistake, I couldn't erase it. I didn't know how, so I would just start all over again, and
Oh my
it was
god.
terrible. But I made my first program, Mr. Bojangles, when I was 7, and from then on, I was just into the computers as well. So fast forward, I was playing with action figures when I was, you know, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then the NES came out in '86, and I had to have it. And so for 20 years, I was a Nintendo fanboy.
Mm.
I'm very brand loyal. So if I had a YouTube channel years ago, it would probably be a Nintendo and NES channel, because I was really into it. Game Boy. I got my first job when I was 14 or 15 to buy the Game Boy when it came out because my parents couldn't afford it. And the SNES I bought with my own money when I was 14. So ever since then, I've loved gaming, but you know, things happen in your life. You get out of it for a while. I've been clean now 25 years, but I was an addict in my 20s. And but so here and there, I got back into gaming. I would see asteroids in a thrift store and buy it, and me and my sister would get a 2600 from the Thrifty Nickel and play it. Um, and so over the years, I still loved playing guitar. The flashbacks, everything that came out. And then when my dad passed away. He was a Vietnam vet. My dad, he passed away in 2019. He had Alzheimer's,
Mm.
and when
Sorry.
that, thank you. When that happened, I moved into my first house, this house, and I decided to make this channel because in a way it was a form of healing, just connecting with people, because during COVID I didn't talk to hardly anyone. I lost a couple of great friends and an ex to COVID, so I was isolating. I was also in grad school, so
Oh my
um
gosh.
and so I created the channel as a way of just kind of meeting people and sharing what I'm passionate about, which is mostly Atari. um I love all the consoles, the 2600, the 5200, the 78, the Lynx, the Jaguar, even the Portfolio, which is a little computer. I can't reach it, it's too far. Like a palm top. And then the Lynx and the Jaguar. I never had these in the 90s because I was an N64 kid. So um, so I started collecting for the Jaguar as well during the pandemic, expensive.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I have like 50 box games behind me and the Jag CD playing, and so I'm totally like in the Apple
That
ecosphere. So
that
um
VLM.
yes, the VLM from Jeff
Yeah.
Mentor. Uh by the way, check out Llama Soft, the Jeff Mentor story if you guys haven't. It's fantastic. Interactive documentary. Um but so yeah, I just got into this, and then I had a friend who had a Atari news channel, and I was in his chat a lot. about 2.5 years ago. And I had my YouTube channel, but it was mostly just covering everything: Nintendo, Atari, the Vectrex, which I never had and fell in love with. And I was talking to him, and love it. Yeah, so I was talking to him, and I decided to focus on Atari news as well, like new Atari news mostly. So, and this includes the new Atari BCS, which I cover on my channel extensively. I started that Atari show a couple years ago, and I have homebrew devs on. I've had Rob Yeager on, who did Montezuma's Revenge. He's been on twice, and just a classic icon in the industry. So fun to talk to, just real open. And Bob Dacre-Senzo, who makes Atari 7800. He's made over 30 or 40 Atari 7800 homebrews. And
wow.
He knows the system inside out.
I didn't know he made that many.
Yeah, he's also made he's also made some NES homebrews, I think, and some other stuff. But it's mostly been 7800. And he's my 7800 guy I talk to whenever in the homebrew community. If I, he's been on a couple times. But it's just been fun. I've had Megan McDuffie on, who is the composer of the music for the Atari Recharge games. She's this awesome kind of gothic musician. And she has videos on YouTube as well. She's so fun to talk to. I had her on Christmas of 2022. And but I've just met some great people. I've talked to Mike Micah and Stephen Frost with Digital Eclipse.
Oh, that's cool.
I had no idea, but Stephen Frost used to be the main guy for Sonic the Hedgehog for like a decade. So he would hold these events, and I can't remember what his title was, but he was really big in that community. And so when I met him, I was kind of blown away. Just the smartest guy, and he was a part of Atari 50, part of Digital Eclipse, which Atari now owns. So, but yeah, so I cover mostly Atari news, which kind of equates to me. I just want to explain to everyone what my day is like, because I've got two jobs I kind of juggle. So sometimes I'll get out of bed 7, 8 in the morning. I'll look at my iPad and, Atari purchased these games or bought this company or something, has a leather jacket out, whatever it is. And I see it on Twitter. I've got a bunch of friends on Twitter that post this stuff all the time. And there's also an Atari Discord. I talk on there a lot, and a BCS Discord. So I get up out of bed, see the news, run downstairs. This is maybe twice a week at the most. But I've had weeks where I had 3 out or 4 out for Atari news lines in a week. It's been crazy. But there's so much going on with the company. It's, I'll like make the video while I'm making coffee. I'll edit the video while I'm getting ready, and then I'll go to work and air it and be on the chat live.
That's dedication right there.
It's fun because I'm a former journalist. So I really crave that. I got to get it out right away. It's annoying, but I also love it. It's, I'm like, I'm not sure if you ever feel that way about people you interview in the past. Like, I got to get this out right now, because the quicker it's out, the more relevant,
Right.
And especially with like a news channel, that's kind of what my channel is partially. So I got to get it out right away. That also, I like to preface that with saying that because it also helps explain my sometimes subpar editing qualities, but I don't have a lot of time to edit. I got to get the crap out there. So that's kind of my excuse. And I'm busy. But yeah, so that's kind of a typical day. And then on the weekends, I'll record other content like that Atari show. I'll do dev interviews. I have a series, Espresso, which is a 5-minute Atari game review series, where I cover 2,600 games just in 5 minutes. And I also do Unboxed, which is an unboxing series, and some other stuff. But it's been a lot of fun. I also have 12 arcade 1-up cabinets, and a couple of back games. So I'm also...
Don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud. Somebody's
gonna...
it?
Can you go back and delete it? But yeah,
So
so
are most of them Atari cabs that you have, or is it just like a mix of?
it's kind of a mix. My favorite cab is the Atari 50 cab. Um, I know I'm in a small subset of people that might say that, but as a big Atari fan, this machine was basically made for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really made, I don't think, for everyone. Um, so with that said, I gave it an A plus whenever I reviewed it, and it was one of my most watched videos on my channel. So people were starving, I guess, for information about
Yeah,
that cabinet.
I think one of the interesting things about that cabinet is I'm not. I mean, you and I have kind of briefly talked on it. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of it,
Mhm.
but I do see like 1000% the appeal to Atari fans. Like, I mean, in the sense of not it mimicking an original cab, but just what it does and the idea of it and the fact that it's the 50th anniversary. It was made specially for the 50th anniversary. And I think
Mhm.
that that's like the really big appeal that I see with that cab. And so I don't like, I don't think there's like personally, like I think like for especially for someone like you who's like such a huge umbrella Atari person
Mhm.
that's like that would be like a must,
Oh yeah,
um, and they weren't how much did you get yours for? Like 399 or something?
I think I paid full price for it.
What is well, they're not expensive. They're
Was it?
not that bad though, are they? They're
It
like
was
499.
4 or 5.99. Yeah, when it came out, and I purchased it directly from Arcade One Up because what I found out over the years from covering Atari, current Atari as well,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
if it's a pre-order, like I'm waiting 8 months for a cartridge right now that I paid for 8 months ago. So their pre-orders are kind of iffy. I had to wait 3 weeks for my Atari 2600 Plus, even though I pre-ordered at day one. And people
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
and yeah, oh my god, and people after me got free shipping and a discount, and they got theirs before me. And I was miffed about that, not just because I'm a content creator that covers mostly Atari. I know I'm not big enough to be sent anything, but they did send me something and apologize, which was nice. A copy of Yar's Revenge, the 50th anniversary edition,
Oh, nice.
and that was nice of them. But if you're going to order anything, if you're going to pre-order anything, I'm sorry, I hate to say this, but don't get it from Atari, get it from Amazon,
Mm.
because they have to ship on launch day, whereas Atari does not.
Hmm.
So that's what I kind of found out.
Crazy. Yeah,
So,
that's crazy. I didn't know that. Because I had I think I had ordered mine after you from Atari, which
mhm,
is ironic. That I would have gotten mine like right in the beginning batch. Like, and I didn't tell, like, I wasn't like, oh, I'm a content creator. Not that my channel's big or anything, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm a content creator or whatever. Like, it just kind of showed up when it did. And then
mhm,
I think I even messaged you about it and you were like, yeah,
yeah,
mine was delayed. And I remember talking to you about that. But
yeah,
that
that's the
is
whole.
so bizarre that it happened to you of all people. Like,
It's I really hammed it up because I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be really jealous of all this content coming out and a little bit angry and sad. So I'm gonna make fun of it. So what I did was a 3 week long 7 stages of Atari 2600 plus grief
mm,
episodes
yeah, yeah.
where me and my family made fun of it, and I was begging my sister to buy it from Amazon and she said no, and I was climbing up a tree and being all moody. I mean, it was fun. I made a whole thing out of it.
I saw,
So,
yeah, I saw a couple of those.
people actually got annoyed. I heard from a couple of people that said, "Okay, stop now." I'm like, "Oh, okay,"
Oh,
but it
see,
was fun.
I remember that.
It was a lot of fun.
um, but I mean, you're like,
Flip, yeah.
it's like that's like your thing, and Atari guys, come on, poor BCB, the biggest Atari fanboy
Yeah,
ever.
Obsidian is a great friend of mine. I also call him Flip, but he actually worked on he helped work on the update to Doodle Taxi, which is a fantastic game on Steam and the VCS. Everyone check it out. He worked on that. He's also a great musician, so everyone check him out on the web. It's he has a page called Obsidian Contraption, and he's got another name too. But yeah, if you want to say it in the chat, Obsidian. But he's just fantastic. I'll get it wrong, but he's just great, and he helps devs out with their games. He's been helpful to me. He's been on my show a couple of times as well, so he's a great guy.
BD Retro says Atari has issues with Q&A right now.
Oh,
I had the exact issues with my 2600 plus order. Then we still see issues with XP games being delayed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the XP games, for those of you that don't know, are basically Atari's new games that they're putting out. A lot of these are just repackaged older games like Outlaw, Save Mary, some of them unreleased, Dark Chambers, and also Mr. Run and Jump, which was a new game they put out. The first new game in 40 plus years, by the way, for the 2600. And I'm still waiting 8 months later for my limited edition of that game.
I want like everything that Atari has on their like physical carts that they have on their every time. I can't even go there because I'm like, I can't buy that right now.
I know.
And yeah, and I'm
expensive.
just like, well, it's not bad. I mean, $30 for the, yeah, it adds up exactly. But I'm like, I want it all at once, because I'm disgusting like that. And
me too. Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm like, oh God, but they've got so much cool stuff going on. I mean, and I feel like they really came back, and their second coming has been pretty good so far. And I remember, I remember when they died, because so I was a total Atari fan during like the Lynx era and Jaguar, and I had so my Atari Lineage is. And I think you've heard me talk a little bit about this, but my Atari Lineage, in short, is my neighbors had a 2600, and that was where I first played like my console Atari games. So like Frogger and PacMan. I remember playing those two. And then my dad had a 400, and he like geeked out and had like disk drives and all that stuff. And the disk drives would break, and I would be super sad because I couldn't play games like Mr. Robots and his Robot Factory. But anyways, and then he got an 800, and then eventually he got the 800 XEGS, and I still have the box to it and everything.
I've got my gun over here.
Yeah, I don't have my gun, unfortunately, and I'm so sad. Bug Hunt is like an underrated gun game. Is like compartmentalized as it is. It's so fun.
It is, yeah.
But anyways, so XEGS, and then what was after that? And then yeah, I had an NES and Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and also the Atari ST came out, and my dad got an Atari ST with like the he had like the color monitor, the little color monitor for it.
Right.
Yeah, and they had games like Blastroids. I mean, Blastroids was only ported to a couple of those systems back then. I think it was like Amiga and Atari. And anyways, and then after that, then Lynx was coming out, and then eventually Jaguar came out. And so we had that. I had like a almost full complete Jaguar collection, all the CD games. I had almost all the cartridge games, and I ended up selling all that stuff off before I joined the military, with the exception of my Jag console itself.
Yeah, that's understandable.
And yeah, I was like, I'm gonna die. And so just money for strippers. But yeah, so
I want to say your dad sounds amazing. To love all those systems and consoles. I mean, what a childhood you had, right?
Yeah, he was such a nerd. He was such a dork. And so it rubbed off on me. But yeah, so those ones were, I was there for all those. And then I remember when Atari died. I remember like the death of Atari. And what's his name? He has a store on eBay that he runs, and he changed the name of it.
Atari Sales.
B&C Visions.
Yes.
I actually made labels for some of the Jaguar games that he sells.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yes, I forgot about that. I think it was
Wow.
like in 2015, but I made labels for Fight for Life beta. I made the Alien versus Predator beta label, and I made the Rayman beta label.
Wow.
And yeah. And so I was like, hey, I made these labels for these beta ROMs. Can you burn them to carts for me? And then he ended up selling them. And anyways, so he bought up all their stuff, and he has like all the good stuff, and he can burn EEPROMs and stuff like that. And so that was kind of like how Atari was living on for me for a while, was through B&C Computer Visions. And obviously he was around before then, producing stuff. I mean, back in the old days for Atari.
Yeah. I think back in the day he must have been one of those companies or people that bought some of the warehouses Atari had when they cleared stuff off.
Right. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, because he's been around for 40 years or so, I want to say, at least. I have friends that tell me stories of him from the 90s and the 80s, and I'm like, wow. So
yeah, he's been around since the 80s for sure. And I even have a B&C Computer Vision cart for my 800. And what is it? Word processor, I think, maybe. Don't quote me, but I know I have a B&C Computer Vision cart for my 800. And Jason says real quick, yeah, it's crazy. People waiting for Mr. Run and Jump. And that's another one I really want. So wait, they haven't actually sent those out yet, the Run and Jump?
They sent out the first batch of the standard edition.
Oh, okay.
Which basically doesn't have a manual in the box. And the limited edition, the box is silver. That has not been released yet. And that has a manual in the box. So basically there's a manual in the box. And slightly different artwork. But yeah, they haven't released that yet. It's been 8 months. I keep getting emails saying it's coming next month. It's coming next month. And so now they're telling me at the end of May. And I have about 4 or 5 other orders still outstanding too. So, and I tell people on the show, and maybe this is why, maybe I'm not on their awesome list, but I tell people the truth. I'm like, you know what? I love Atari. You love Atari. I want you to be safe with your money. Here's what's going on, So do whatever you want, but I'm waiting 8 months for a cart. If something says 3 to 5 days, it usually ships immediately. So it's just the pre-order stuff. And what they basically told me was whenever I had the issue happen, they lost track at the warehouse of who pre-ordered first. So basically they were just sending orders out left and right with no consideration on who ordered first. So that's kind of what happened there.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, Atari's got some growing pains. I feel like they need to focus on customer service right now. They need to improve shipping. Customer service, you send an email, it takes 3 to 5 days. You can also go on their Discord and get an answer usually immediately. People don't know that. So I try to get that word out there. But that's an area they need to improve for sure. But I do think that the current CEO, Wade Rosen, is doing a really good job with giving us fans what we want, Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, they definitely are, they're coming out with a lot of really cool stuff. And like the 400 mini, I really like those. Like I'd like to get one. It's just for me personally, with the way I have everything set up, it's hard for me to justify for myself. Just because I have like the Uno cart and the XEGS.
Oh, yeah. You're set
and
up.
So it's kind of like, and I'm going to plug it into my CRT anyways. I got the backwards HDMI. So
yeah, if you got it, Jada would sit on the shelf probably, right? And you'd admire it because it's cute and tiny. But it's $100-something bucks. So,
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think like if you don't have that, like that is something that is definitely worth investing in, because it 1000% was the thing that everybody was waiting for, because they just kept coming out with the the 2600 minis, and those were like, they were all right. I think At Games had one that was pretty decent, but
the Game Station Pro.
Before before I forget, well, and then Atari has the VCS too, which is that's a neat little thing. But before I forget, Jeff Minter, dude, I would love to pick Jeff Minter's brain, because and that takes me back to Atari ST. The first Jeff Minter game that I ever played was Lamatron, and I remember playing that and being like, this is so weird and it's so corny, but it's cool because it was like Robotron, obviously, but the sprites were really nice. It was fast, and on those little CRT monitors, the picture was so crisp and colorful.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Lamatron, and then I remember when Jaguar came out, and my dad was like, yeah, the guy who made Lamatron made Tempest 2000. And I mean, I was addicted to Tempest 2000 for a long time. It's just such a cool game. So, after that, I was just kind of like, after that, and then there was another game on ST. I think there was a sequel to Lamatron, and there was like one other thing. But I was just really, anything Jeff Minter, I'm like immediately like, give it to me.
Yeah.
Because I love what he does. I love his style of game,
I totally agree with you. And this is the reason why, I love Lama Soft, the Jeff Mentor story, because it walks you through his whole life, and it doesn't have every game in there, but it's got a good 40, 50 games. And then Digital Eclipse also made Grid Runner Remastered, which is amazing. And this compilation is like $29. It's totally worth it because you get like 50 games, and they're all classic Jeff Mentor games. They're all quirky and weird, and I love it,
Yeah.
So,
Let's see. JJ says, my favorite Atari title was Gravatar. I played that in the arcades circa 1982 and mastered it. When A1UP came out with their 12-in-1 cab in 2018, I purchased just to have that game with original controls. Yeah, that's a fun one. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Minter, he's left quite a legacy with Atari, and then with what he's doing now. I have on PSP his TXK.
Oh, I want to play that.
Yeah, I was, when it came out, I was like, oh my god, he made it for PS Vita. And I was like, oh my god, and I like bought it immediately, like no questions asked. And there was no physical release ever that I know of. And I wish there was. But yeah, so I still have it in my store, and I have it on my PS Vita. Wow. And it's I mean, it's the only handheld version of the game, unless you count playing emulated on like Jaguar or PlayStation or something like that. But the form factor of it on the PS Vita is just beautiful on the OLED screen and everything. So it's
I want to
really
play
awesome.
that so bad. It looks so good.
yeah, it really is great. I mean, it's basically Tempest 4000 before Tempest 4000. So
yeah, he had a bunch of games out on iOS and systems I haven't played, that like Moose Life and Minotaur Arcade. I didn't play any of those, so
I've never heard of that other one.
It's not in the compilation either, so I don't know if it's tied up with, I don't know, with another company, but he's got so much stuff out there. I mean, he literally started off on the ZX Spectrum and the Bally Astrocade, and he's had a game pretty much out on every system you could think of for the past 40 years, even iOS. I mean,
yeah,
it's just amazing. I mean, this guy, and this documentary is just so cool. It's my new favorite thing of the year, so that's why I talk about it. But yeah, it's just fantastic.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, because like I want to undividedly watch it.
Yeah,
and I don't watch a whole lot of things anymore. So
I did a complete talk through and gameplay on my channel of Lamatron. I'm sorry, of Lamasoft, and it took me about 5 weeks. I did a chapter or so every week, and so don't watch that, Jade, if you don't want to have this prize spoiled.
Yeah,
but it was so fun. It was so fun.
So I wanted to look just a little bit at some of the stuff on here, and because they just came out with Lunar Lander. Now all this stuff is like their Steam. These are all things that you can get like on Steam or what's it called? Like some of
Other consoles.
shop stores.
Yeah, like the Switch and Xbox, PS5,
Right.
all that. Um, Lunar Lander Beyond though is actually going to be on the VCS as well. So some of the games are going to be on the VCS and some of them aren't. So, but so it's
See,
kind of interesting.
I was like, I was very much like I wanted to buy a VCS, but what drew me away from it was that they didn't like. There's no Jaguar games on it, is there?
No, but if you get Atari 50, it does have Jaguar games on there.
Yeah, I have
You know what I
Atari
mean?
50 on Switch.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah,
there's
not.
no like if they, dude, imagine if they like were able to bring back a ton of the Jaguar library on the VCS. I mean, that would be really cool. Like CD,
And
everything, like CD and cartridge.
yeah, you know what's interesting? I was talking to a friend about this on my channel recently on that Atari show. I was telling him that when they made the Lamatron game I was talking about, it says in the credits that every game was pretty much emulated. The Atari ST games,
Mm-hmm.
at least, were emulated through an Atari Jaguar emulator, which is Big Pimu, which is what Digital Clips made with Dick Whitehouse. And so if they can do it that quickly and put the games on that compilation, I don't see, and Atari owns Digital Clips, which means they also own this emulator. I don't see why they couldn't do that. And I've also been talking to people about maybe a Jaguar Mini, because the Atari 400
that
Mini
would
and the
be
2600 Mini is doing really well from what I hear. And so my thought goes to a Jag Mini. But I was talking to my friend about this too on my channel. Like, well, a lot of the games are going to be hard to get, like Rayman, right? Like,
licensing.
right.
I mean, but
Pitfall,
Rayman is
the
one of
Might
those.
Adventure, is
Yeah,
Activision.
that one. But a lot of those are like some of them, like Rayman, for example, is like all right. I mean, like that's not like a super. Honestly, the Jaguar version was nice, but it wasn't like that nice. I thought the PlayStation version was better, to be honest.
Oh yeah,
But I did like when I had the Jaguar version, it was before I had the PlayStation version, so it was like the only way I could play Rayman. But there were
yeah.
things that were just mechanically better about the
Oh yeah,
PlayStation version. But it was a beautiful game on Jaguar. Don't get me wrong.
yeah. Totally.
Anyways,
You're right.
anyways, so that one wouldn't be a big deal. But like most of the games that are on there, I feel like are either with companies that Atari owns now, like Digital Eclipse, for example, did a lot of the CD stuff. And then or they're Atari exclusives. And I don't know what the licensing and development situation is with some of those games that like randomly, like Attack of the Mutant Penguins and stuff like that,
Right.
And Super Breakout obviously would be Atari Super Breakout 2000, Missile Command 3D. There's a boatload of games that they could totally pull off. And then, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, Jaguar CD, Brain Dead 13. I'm not sure. I think that's ReadySoft. I don't. But anyways,
yeah.
So that would be cool.
I was going to mention, you were talking
Towers
about this
2
earlier.
Can I reply to this real quick?
Oh yeah, Towers 2 was remastered by Songbird Productions.
Yeah, they did it. Well. They did another one, right? Because they originally released it. So I have the original release. I don't have the remastered version, but they remastered it on a Jaguar cart.
Yes.
Yeah. Or enhanced or something.
Right. Carl Forehand, who leads Songbird, did that. He's also been a force in the community for about 20 or 30 years. He also sells Lynx and Jaguar homebrew games, and he sells Evercade games on his page too.
Oh, that's cool.
But he's actually the fastest way in North America to get an Evercade game if you don't mind getting some of the free tchotchkes from Funstock. So, he'll send it to you like in 2 or 3 days. Because I've ordered cartridges from him before, right when they come out, and you get them like the same day. If you order from Funstock, I was looking at, delays and all that. And so he has a great page, Somber Productions, and it's a company.
Yeah.
And he also put out a lot of Jaguar games that were never published.
Yeah. Well, Songbird, I mean, I've been following them since Iron Soldier 2. And they did Robinson's Requiem, Iron Soldier 2,
Yeah.
Plight of the Stargazer, and plenty of other games. Those are just 3 that really stick out in my mind. And I had because they did a cartridge release of Iron Soldier 2, which was really cool because at the time it was like there was no other way to play Jaguar CD games. So to be able to play that game on a cartridge was cool. I actually used to have both, the cartridge and the CD release. And anyways, yeah, so they're still doing good things over there. What was the other one? It was like a beta, and it was like a Rescue on Fractalus kind of. Phase Zero.
Oh, Phase Zero, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about air cars for a minute.
No, but yeah, air cars too.
The best thing I got from my Jaguar was the Jaguar game drive.
Yeah, if you can get one, they're awesome.
Freaking amazing. I got mine on eBay from a reseller, so I probably paid a little more for it. But it's just amazing. You can load ROMs on there. It comes with games. And you go find the ROMs basically. Of course you need to own the game, whatever. Which I probably do.
Atari, you know what? Atari is surprisingly lenient. I mean, like just as far as they're very laid back when it comes to kind of allowing people to be able to use their consoles freely, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to if everyone knows who Joan Rivers was, the comedian, back in the day. There's a movie that Joan Rivers did in the early thousands. I can't remember what it's called, but it's fantastic. And I saw it in an indie theater when it came out. And she talks about this. She says that she's never turned down a role because that's one more way to get your name out there.
Right.
And that's why she was successful, because she never said no. She would sell dog food. She would sell jewelry. She didn't care. And she would go on whatever game show, which is why she was on every game show for like 30 or 40 years. And, and we remember her. So I think that's kind of Atari's philosophy as well. Our names out there. So,
yeah,
and
I mean,
working,
and that's exactly. It's a good philosophy, because honestly, I think you're going to get more, like you said, I mean, notoriety, but you're also going to get more business that way, because then people are going to want, hard copies of certain things if they're available. Like, oh, it would be cool to be able to stick this in my 2600 plus or whatever the case may be. So Atari Age, Atari Age has been around for a long time, and I love Atari Age. I've gotten a ton of Jaguar games from them, and I got my game drive from them.
Nice.
But let's see, the last 2 that I got that were just like bangers for me was the Llamasoft package for Jaguar, and then Xenon 2, the port that they did of Xenon 2. I was sad that they couldn't keep the original soundtrack for it because of licensing stuff, which is crazy. Like Bomb the Bass and Bitmap Brothers, that whole thing, if you use that music like on YouTube, you immediately get like slapped in the butt for that.
Right.
Yeah. So I found that interesting just because it's so old, and I'm like, wow, really?
And that happens to me with Atari stuff too. If I post a game trailer, sometimes it's blocked, so I just wing it. And then if I can catch it early enough, I'll replace the music. But it's just, I go through that too.
Yeah. So anyways, Atari Age, I love them. And the one, oh my God, I missed. So there was a physical release of the Popeye 7800, and it was like the last like couple days that they were selling it, and they like were doing one more run of it or something. And I was like, oh, I need to pick that up. I came back the next day and it was done. It was gone. Like the page wasn't even there anymore. And I was like,
Oh,
no,
oh
I
no.
wanted the 7800 Popeye so bad. It was like an arcade perfect port. But anyways, yeah, I went and commented on the guy's YouTube, and I was like, any chance you're doing this ever again? But I don't know if you've been here lately, or how much you check out Atari Age.
You
And for
know,
everybody in the chat, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's really interesting because whenever I think about Atari Age, I have a different experience than you do, Jade. I went on Atari Age back in the early thousands and
Mm-hmm.
was just asking about Atari here and there. And there were these older kind of gaggle iconic. I kind of refer to it as a gaggle of geese.
Yeah.
There was like a gaggle of old Atari fans that were just real bitter and angry. And some of these people are still around. And I also talk with them about my channel, and they don't like my channel because I focus a lot on new Atari in their eyes. And this brings up a conversation that I like to put out there because, there's all this talk of new and old Atari right now with some hardcore 2600 fans on Atari Age and with people like me who like both old and new Atari.
Uh-huh.
And it's really sad because, that generation's part of mine, Generation X, we're slowly dying off. So I just feel like that we need to embrace all forms of Atari, if possible. I don't see why there's a division, but I've had a lot of hate thrown my way from the website, unfortunately, because I do talk about the Atari VCS, and there's still kind of this gaggle of people that don't like it. And this kind of brings up a topic to my mind, of new and old Atari. When people talk about old Atari, that it's changed hands lots of times. The company's been around over 50 years. What company do people know of that has not changed hands a few times in 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of do have to be a sellout to make it. I mean, just to put up the 2600, Atari had to sell out to Warner Brothers, and people don't realize that. And so when they talk about old Atari, they're probably talking about Warner Atari. They're talking about an Atari that was already changed from the original.
Mm-hmm.
And Nolan Bushnell was an advisor until the mid 80s, but
Right.
it wasn't really the same company. It was very profit driven. They did not encourage creativity like they once did, when you could smoke pot back in the old headquarters with Nolan in
Right.
the hot tub or
Just
whatever.
go in there in your
And
PJs.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
talk about that in Atari 50. Howard Scott Warshaw talks about that. There were parties that, there were hot tubs, and and there was drug use being sent through the company's mail, actually.
Yeah.
And so it was a different time, different time. But it's interesting because Atari also had a handful of the first transgendered video game designers. Uh, and you'll also hear from them in documentaries, and they actually worked on games. And and um, if it wasn't kind of for kind of Atari being in the market early and kind of making mistakes, because every company is going to make mistakes in the very beginning. I think every company now has learned from their mistakes. And, if it wasn't for Atari being bullish and not knowing what they were doing, we wouldn't have Activision, which is made up of Atari employees, you know,
Right. Right.
uh, or Imagic, who put out some amazing games like Cosmic Arc is one of my favorite games. And so really, because of their stumbles, and their um, and their issues, that really laid the groundwork for what we know today. And so I feel like people owe Atari a little more credit for all that, and that's just my thoughts about it. But there is this kind of division in the community a little bit, and I think it's basically the generational, you know, the Gen X crowd, it's not the same Atari. It never will be. And then we have people like
Right.
me or younger who are open to liking both. And I like both. I like
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
So sue me,
No, I'm the same. I'm the same. And I would say in general with most things, I'm just very open-minded about it, you know. But if it sucks, it sucks. But if you don't give it a chance, you're not really going to know if you like it or not. But I think regardless, I mean, it doesn't, you know, it's just the same thing that you see in most communities. Like
Yeah.
people don't like something, or they don't like the fact that it's new and whatever, and they're just like, "Argh." And so then they get pissed that other people like it, or they're having fun with it, and then they're like, ah. And so, you know, it's dumb. So I just ignore it. But
Yeah.
as far as the forum goes, I'm not super involved in the forums at all, and never really have been very much, for that reason. Because I think there was a couple times where I went in there and I got like, oh, why don't you just Google it or something like that? And I'm like, okay, dickhead, if I, you know, I already Googled it,
Yeah.
obviously.
And
So yeah, I just ignore that part of
yeah,
things unless I'm looking for like information on something specific.
right. And they've done some great things. I don't want to discount that. Atari Age has been fantastic. I mean, there were 20 or 30 years, and that's probably all we had, right?
Dude,
So,
they were like the homebrew community
yeah,
for forever.
yeah. And, you know, Atari bought Atari Age recently. So now they're actually putting some of these homebrews on the Atari VCS. And so some of these games are like $4 or $5. I mean, really affordable. I think it's great because it's getting these devs games out there, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to say, P Dubs, I love your freaking channel. I've been watching you for so long. So thank you for saying that.
P-Dubs, was my thumb okay for this live stream? Everyone in the chat, P-Dubs told me that my thumbs sucked a while ago. And I mean, I agreed with him because I mean, I was making kind of sucky thumbs sometimes. But
Mine
I
always
just
suck. I've accepted it.
I'm just putting him on the spot now. I'm messing with him.
I make mine like in 2 minutes before I go to bed. Like I don't spend enough time on it because I don't have enough time.
I'm so bad. I'm even more self-conscious now that he told me that, because I'm like, oh my God, he's right. But like what I'll do is I'll make a thumb, and then like I'll keep screwing with it for like hours afterwards. And so I'll usually spend like a few hours. Sometimes I'll even let it sit and like come back to it the next day. PW says, can I ask a random question? What is the host's favorite Atari Jaguar game, and why is it Alien versus Predator? Oh, come on. How dare you put words in my mouth?
That is a great game.
It is. You know what's funny though is the speed of the game hasn't aged well.
Oh, and yeah, I know.
Yeah, the speed of the game. But at the time it came out as a first person shooter, it was great. And Doom on the Jaguar was like the best version on console, except there was no freaking music, and music was like half of Doom. It still blows my mind to this day. Of course, I still have it and everything. But you know what? I wouldn't say that. I would say that the Atari Jaguar, like Alien versus Predator, is one of my favorite games. I would have to say that I really liked the Iron Soldier games as well. I would put them up there, and Tempest 2000. You know, if anything, Tempest 2000 is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite. And Iron Soldier is right behind that with Alien versus Predator.
I agree with you 100%, Jade. Those are two of my favorites. You know, I also like Raiden.
Oh, you know what? I was not that happy with the Jaguar version.
I didn't like the half the screen was covered up with controls, but you
know,
but it's a fun shooter. I also like the Pitfall Mine Adventure. I even like the Simi Ninja because it's weird, you know. So there are lots of games, but probably my favorite, and this is a boring answer, is probably Tempest 2000 because I never had it back in the day. And when I played it like 3 years ago for the first time, I was blown away how great it was. So that's basically the killer app for the Jaguar.
Dude, you know, everybody talks about the RetroTink 4K and what it does, and I've seen a lot of good videos on it too, and it's pretty cool what you can do with it. And I just was thinking like, man, I really want to see some of the Jaguar games on there like upscaled, you know, like Tempest 2000 would look, I imagine it would look like really good upscaled on the Tink 4K. But I haven't seen I have not seen anybody run, and I'm sure somebody has on YouTube if I looked, but I haven't seen anybody run Jaguar through it yet. Tempest Tubes, very sneaky cabs. I'm omnis. Jason is he's omnipresent through YouTube moderation. But yeah. Anyways, those would be my choices. So
great choices. I was looking for games around me, and we were talking, and they're too far away, and I don't want to get up and risk showing my butt crack, so I haven't moved. I have this fear of live streams, which is why I don't do any of my own. I feel like I'm going to stand up, my butt crack going to hang out, or I don't know, there's going to be something on my face. So I'll do other people's, but I don't do my own usually.
It's like P-Dubs. Remember that time that your mic audio was on and you were like cussing everybody out or something like that. Like I just remember you saying like, Jade, that stupid bitch. She's just kidding. Okay. I wanted to look at this real quick though, because like I was saying, one big thing about Atari Age, and I absolutely love and support the homebrew modding communities and all that stuff, is that they're a huge homebrew community. And so they're doing they had the Homebrew Awards. Sorry. And so I don't know. I mean, I know you said you're not super active on here. But I was going to ask you, like, if you had seen any of these or heard of any of the games that they did.
Some of those games are actually on the Atari VCS. I see already. EXO is, ARTI is.
Yeah. But they do this every year, and I love it. Like I love that they do this, and I'm wondering, like, if, because Atari was gonna they were gonna purchase Atari Age, right?
They already have.
So they finished that deal.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if they had like closed it or not, and which was going to be my next question to ask you. But
this is why also they took down all their games for sale in their store. Now there are some, but the games that were direct ports, like PacMan 4K has been taken down and stuff because they couldn't get the rights. Obviously from Namco. So there are a lot of games that went down because Atari bought them, but also on the flip side, they're putting some of these games on the VCS as well, and that's been awesome.
Yeah, and that was like the one thing that I was like so sad about. I'm like, man, if they like sign off on that deal, if it goes through, they're gonna have to take down like all their games and stuff. And I'm like, and that has been the whole thing. Like one of the beautiful things about Atari Age has been this like independent space, where people go and kind of do all this stuff for these dead consoles. Now, granted, like, I'm sure that Atari is going to be very flexible and pick and port over a lot of stuff to some of their consoles, but I don't know. I was kind of sad about it, and that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what have your thoughts been on it? And I mean, just as far as like the Atari homebrew community, like, was centralized here, so I feel like that's kind of officially gone now that you told me that like it's officially signed off on. I didn't know if that was like a done deal or not.
Yeah, from my understanding, it is, because I know that Albert, who basically runs the site, basically is an Atari employee now. But yeah, it's it's my feelings on it are, it is sad because, as you said, this is the one place where you could buy physical games, physical homebrew carts. Now most of those games are gone. But on the flip side, as I said a minute ago, I am glad that they are putting these games out on the VCS to purchase. Because it kind of makes the VCS more special, because a lot of people crap on it. It's not the most perfect console, I get it, but it's a great vehicle for Atari 7800 homebrew games.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact they did that kind of opens the floodgates to kind of a different market. to the, and you could also use it in PC mode and install Big PMU on there and play Jaguar games on it.
Right.
So there's a lot you can do with it. It's flexible. It's a computer as well. So and if you can get a good deal around Black Friday for, they had a bundle for like $150, I'd get it. But if it's at $300, kind of hard to swallow.
Yeah. I mean,
So I'd get it.
and that's kind of one of my complaints too. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I'm like, even kind of like, I'm kind of disheartened that the deal is like officially done now. But yeah, because it's just been, I mean, since Atari died, I'm trying to think like how far back. I mean, I've been there forever, like just looking at their stuff and getting information. And I mean, it used to be a place even where you would go and you'd be able to like DM and connect with people about finding certain versions of like game dumps that were kind of harder to come by back in the day.
Yes.
But a lot of really cool things have been dumped on Atari Age. Like what was it? I think one of the Fight for Life betas, or maybe two of them, or maybe three of them were dropped there. And just, a bunch of random things for Jaguar, Lynx, and all the Atari subsystems. So I think that, but on the flip side, I feel like it's also kind of at the point where most of the stuff that could have come out and been done has been released into the public forum. So it's out there floating around. I just think the aspect of the homebrew side of it, I hope that everybody still gets the opportunity to like share their homebrew stuff and without pushback, and at least like share it there,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't get published by Atari.
There are a couple of other sites. My friend Mike's Gaming Gala on YouTube and Retrobliss Gaming mostly cover homebrews, and they've actually told me there are 3 or 4 sites out there like Atari Age that still sell those Atari homebrew games. So Atari Age was not the only place, but it's a great place,
Yeah, no, yeah, there's other places, but it was like the comprehensive,
like the hub. Right.
Yeah, it was like the epicenter of all that. But I wanted to show you this before I go further and get super sidetracked. Oh, these bastards are gonna make me play an ad again.
Check out the improved Chips Ahoy cookies.
Sorry, can you hear that audio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right. Have you the Atari? Have you seen this?
I've heard about it a little bit. Yes.
Okay. Well,
it's been a little bit,
I'm not going to play the whole video, but you have to see this, especially since you're a huge 2600 fan. And this is like, I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, whoa, this is wicked crazy. Like,
so this is the Atari 2600 games console from the 70s. It used to take these big cartridges that had slot in the top, and you could play some pretty amazing games. But generally, most games only had simple sound effects, and the games that did have music just kept it simple. So what I decided to do with it is try.
Chat, is this too loud, and is it too loud for you, Brian?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Actually push some music out of the device and got myself an EEPROM programmer. Wrote a bit of software to convert everything in a way where I could write music easily for it. And with these little daughter boards, it allows me to simply plug in the top, and you can see there I have my chip tune in my machine, hence the Atari 2600.
Wow.
And this has everything I need on it to rock out. It has my EQ pedal, so I can add...
Dude, like, look at that thing. I mean, that thing is just, like, good God, man.
It's got a joystick on it, look.
Yeah. He explains all
lots
of it,
of 50 hertz to explode bass through subwoofers. The flange pedal, I have the hold ability to be able to hold notes and do whammy holds and things like that. And if I want to switch between tracks, I can power on and off and select a new track. And awesome fun to play. And I took it to Japan, and this is what happened.
That's pretty crazy, right?
I love it.
Yeah,
I used to go to
totally.
raves. I used to go to raves in Dallas back in the day. It kind of reminds me of some raves I went to.
Yeah, yeah. I've done a couple of warehouse stints myself.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm
but-
gonna have to show that on my channel on the Atari show now. I've heard about it, but it's been a while, and now I've got to show that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly old like
It's like
it makes
12
me
years old.
feel old because I'm like, oh my god, it's 12 years old now. What has
Wow.
happened?
I know.
But yeah, it's anyways, it's just a really cool thing that he pulled off with that. So I
love
thought
that.
you got to see this. You got to see it.
That's amazing.
I have okay, and then here's this other thing I want to share with you. Now, this is for everybody, chat. If you have not seen, hold on, let me see if I can copy this over because I don't.
I like what Jason said in chat. Wait until Activision builds one.
Right.
that's cute. But true.
Oh yeah. Let me see. Okay, let me pull this thing over here. All right. So if you got, wait a minute. Oh, that's the same thing. Oops. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Bruh, did I just do it again? Okay, I don't know how. That's all right. I'm just going to do this. Indie Wave.
So this is the
All right. So Indie Wave Arcade. If you guys haven't heard of Indie Wave Arcade, is a smaller channel that covers a lot of indie arcade games, and it's really cool. It's a cool little channel. They have he does like a podcast on here as well. Let me see. Let me show you. I'm just gonna show you, play the intro for you guys. It's less than a minute, just so that you guys can see what it is.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube.
Come on, get off my ad screen.
Exclusive access to all things.
Heyo, welcome to Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, and this is our channel. On Indie Arcade Wave, we run through a podcast called In the Scene, which we highlight different indie developers, game developers, arcade owners, convention runners, anything really in the arcade or indie game development scene. We'll be doing more videos focusing on arcades specifically in individual states, as well as other ideas down the pipeline. So if you like what we're doing here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate you checking out the channel. A little bit of background on me. I've been running In the Scene for the last 2 years, a little bit more than that. And I've been part of the Galactic Battleground team for about 5.5 years now. So I've been going to conventions, checking out different indie games across the country. And again, if you like what we're doing here at Indie Arcade Wave, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a ton. It's going to help us grow, continue to ride that wave. And until next time, peace.
Yeah, so you guys, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, check it out. Go look around. And I wanted to show you guys a really cool thing that some of the people here were involved in the development of, and they kind of just recently showcased. Now, where is this darn thing? Okay, so Food Fight Frenzy.
Heyo, welcome everyone to Stay in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host.
And I'm actually talking, I think I'm talking to Joe. I didn't ask, but I'm talking to somebody on their Twitter account. about getting him on here to on my show to like talk about some of their stuff and Food Fight Frenzy as well.
And here on the scene, we dive into what's happening in the arcade space, from new arcade developers, arcade owners, and operators, and just news in the space in general. Now, I helped create Galactic Battleground about 5 years ago. We've been taking it to conventions all over the country and showing it off. And we've got a new game that we want to announce today. We have a few people with us to talk about that, and someone that got us into the door to start with, who we've been working with for years. So I'm just going to bring them all in, and then we can announce what the game is. So I've got Dylan Davis, Brian Armitage, and Kelly Pangburn with me, 2 members of Slackers, and then the owner and operator of Paradise Arcades. How you doing, Brian?
Hey,
Paradise Arcades. Sorry.
good to see you, Joe.
Kelly, Dylan, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm
Glad
good.
to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you guys back on. I mean, we talk all the time, so this isn't like a crazy meeting, but I'm excited to announce that we have a new game coming out called Food Fight Frenzy. It is an Atari license, and it is a 4-player version of Food Fight, which is kind of comical to me, actually, because the first MGC we ever went to, we were all kind of joking with Tony from Deathball about how funny it would be to make a game called Food Fight before we really were on this idea, but of just throwing food at people's faces and like feeding them until they explode, basically. And now we're actually working on the Atari license of Food Fight, which is awesome. So let's just have you guys introduce yourselves, kind of tell people who you are and what you do.
I'll go first. Kelly Pangburn, co-founder of Slackers Inc. Been writing code since I was in high school, basically, whether it was basic to Visual Basic to C++. Did some assembly
Rel.
language in there,
You know, he
all the way
took
up
Rel.
into building mobile apps for a living. But started the side project of Galactic Battleground with Dylan, and met a lot of great people along the way.
What's up, Joel? Food Fight Frenzy is appropriate. Atari just took ownership of the classic Frenzy in 2020. Yeah. So I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit. I don't like you guys. Make sure you check out this full video. I will leave a link in the description. But I want to show you guys some of the gameplay. So they basically
It's a
developed
great
it.
electromechanical game.
The way that they developed it and what I've seen is that it's on a cocktail table.
And I expected it to take him like 3 or 4
nice.
months. And like the next week he calls me back and says, "Hey, I've got a meeting with Tato in Japan on the phone next week. Can you make it?" And so after we got the Tato license, I said, "Why don't you even get Atari? They ghosted me years ago." And within like 3 weeks, he's got their licensing on the phone, and it just went from there. And Cassandra's great. I mean, it was no hard feelings about what happened. It just was different stages of company development. But when we went into this next stage and Tom was working with them and we were talking about these different games, we really started with something that was relatively simple. Taking or trying to launch a few games, license some artwork, and do some different things. And it's really grown into a rather prolific relationship. We do PCBs with them, we do art with them, and then we do these 2 games. So Warlords was the first one, and that's an exact replica of Warlords, because that was just
That they use to their advantage, like being able to like go a little bit to the left or right, so you can change your throwing angle versus moving and stuff like that. So when you get on certain special piles of food, you can literally become a turret basically and try to do things. And coincidentally, one of the AIs is
So obviously you guys can see this. It's a 4-player setup, and they've fine-tuned the controls for traversing and all this other stuff. And I saw a comment. Obsidian said, "I wonder." Sorry, let me pull it up. He said, "I wonder if Dappa knows about this. Would be cool on the VCS." Sorry, my eyes are like going out right now. But yeah, this would be a cool game to get on the VCS.
He's talking about David Page, who works with Atari with all the new games coming in and with the indie devs. He's like the only guy basically that
Okay.
goes and gets games. And so, yeah, this would be a good one. This looks so fun. I'm a huge Food Fight fan. I love Food
Yeah,
Fight.
me too. Me too.
So underrated.
Yeah.
And the arcade version is my favorite, but the version of the 7800 is also great.
Yeah, the
and there's
XE and the
also,
7800.
Yeah, there's also a new Food Fight on the VCS, which is an online multiplayer game in the style of like Splatoon. So there's a new game out like that, but this looks great.
Right. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to play that." Is that out like now? Is it out?
It's out, yeah. Mhm.
Oh my god, I have to
But
get it.
this, I want to get this now. This looks fun.
Yeah. So it's really cool. And I want to see like, oh my god, I know there's a video, or maybe it was a short where they're kind of showing it off.
I'm not sure I've got 4 people or 3 people to play it with in real time, because that's my problem.
There's great games that
Let's
are just
see.
a lot of flash and they're fun because they're like popping things in your face all the time. But that's one style, and like the classic style is much more about a theme or a strategy or like a way of game mechanics that are entertaining regardless of the format they're in. There's great games that are just a lot of flash and they're fun.
Man, where is that video? Well, somewhere on here there is a video of the cabinet that they built. It might have been later on in the one that we were just watching, but it's a cocktail table. It's got the artwork on it. It's really cool, and yeah, I mean, it looks really fun, especially if you're a Food Fight fan. I had the New Wave Toys one, and sadly, I gave it away to someone, and I wish I wouldn't have done that.
I still have mine. I love it. It's a cool one.
It was like the one. It was like the one New Wave Toys that I should have never given away, but I gave it away because it was to someone who got the full size version of it, and I thought, like, you know what, like this would go really good with their full size Food Fight, and then so
it's nice of you. I have to say, I saw your Berserk review, and that was awesome.
Oh, thank you
for the Replicade. I didn't like how you died at the end, but I liked it. It's like, don't kill Jade, no.
Yeah, some people were traumatized by that.
It was a little traumatizing.
My daughter was sitting with me, like, and she was watching me make that scene, and because the original video is just me like switching around in a chair, and she's like laughing at it, and then I started like making it and using like the cartoon and stuff, and I'm adding it in slowly, and like she's just like, she starts cringing like by the time I've got it like to where it's like the face is like stabbing me, and she's like, it's funny, but it's not funny, and she's like, I don't like it.
I can see that. If she's your daughter, I get it.
Yeah, Joel, I at the beginning of the show, I did address this because I was like, I'm trying to make it easier for my guests to get onto the show, and also not have as many technical issues. So I'm actually streaming from my laptop right now, not my desktop, because last time I streamed from my desktop, I had Scarlet Sprites on, and the show like just dropped like an hour and a half through or something like that.
Oh man.
But yeah, so anyways, I'm gonna try and use StreamYard for guests specifically, and stuff. So it's worked out pretty well so far, I think. But anyways, so yeah, I'm excited about that. Watch that video. Let me know what you think. I mean, let me know more about what you think. And you guys, if you're not subscribed to Indie Wave Arcade, make sure you go check that YouTube out, and give them a buzz, because they've got some cool stuff on there, and obviously, like, they're innovating cool games like that, and they've got good relationships. So hopefully I'm gonna get them on here the beginning of next month, I think. Yeah, like within the first 2 weeks of next month, and so that'll be exciting. And maybe I can even get them to like bring on some footage of like people playing the game and stuff like that, and the actual cocktail,
That'd be nice.
Let me see. I could use some coffee right now. I'm a little bit, I have two chats over here, so my apologies. So let's see, where are we? 8:30. Are you crunched for time?
No, I can go another half an hour or so.
Oh, okay, cool. I was gonna say we can kind of slowly wrap things up over the next half hour, and
Yeah.
Let me catch up on these comments here. Oh, this is sidebar. StreamYard is king. OBS is king. Bow. Thank you again, Jason. Appreciate ya. So yeah, I don't know. Atari's got a lot going on right now. I really like a lot of the recharge stuff that they're doing. And it's just like they're really coming out with a lot of stuff kind of at once, and I'm like, I can't keep track of all of it.
I know.
And I want a lot of it too, but then I'm like, I get like that buyer anxiety where I'm like, oh, if it sells out, is it ever coming back? Like,
Right.
and then I'm like, you're gonna have to pay like $80 instead of 30, whatever.
Atari is putting out a lot, and it makes it really hard to cover too, because I've had people ask me, why don't you do other stuff? And I'm like, well, Atari's doing so much, I don't have time for anything else. So just covering it is like a little job,
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot. It's honestly is a lot.
Yeah, I don't always catch everything that you do. Like whenever I see your stuff pop up in my Twitter, I retweet it. But I don't always catch everything that you do, and it doesn't, like, YouTube has not been good at showing me stuff in my feed.
Me either. Yeah,
when
it's
it
been
comes
terrible.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, and I've heard that that's been like a thing with people in general. So I know it's not just me or just you, like,
well,
so
I've got to go and search for your names, because I watch YouTube on my Apple TV mostly, and I'll comment on my iPad sometimes, at the same time. But I have to go search for your channel on my Apple TV because it won't just show me it sometimes. So I'm like, come on, I watch her a lot, So,
yeah,
it's weird.
Well, it is weird. Yeah, well, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I will say, I was talking to somebody about how I think YouTube kind of throttles people sometimes. And what's stranger to me is that I have a lot of subscribers telling me like, oh, I didn't know you had this out because I didn't get a notification or whatever. And I'm like, that's so bizarro. So bizarro.
I hear the same thing. I do, honestly. I hear the same thing. And, I will often kind of say on like Twitter, because I have a Facebook page too, Ballistik Coffee Boy. And on Twitter, I'm Ballistik Coffee. But I will often retweet something if I feel like people missed it. I'll be like, hey, did you miss this? And post it again, because I feel like people may not have heard about it,
Yeah.
Like one of the things I'm like probably the proudest of is when I covered Atari 50 and the 50th anniversary of Atari, and also the 2600 plus and the 400 mini. I mean, I just have like a few hundred viewers for those, and so I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna keep talking about it, because I don't think people know I put something up about it, because I get buried underneath all the big people, and so it is what it is. But
I like
a lot of times their stuff is better. I get it. I don't have a director in the corner. I don't pay a company. It's all me. So it's just me and my iPad and my phone or whatever. So
trust me, I know. Like I say, my channel's like a taco truck. We get by.
But your editing is fantastic, Jade.
Oh,
it's
thank
spot
you.
on. So yeah, I'm like nowhere near your quality.
But what was it? Oh, your coverage of the Atari 400 was great. And I think I was in there when you premiered your second video, and I watched the first one, and yeah, it was just, what I like about it is it's just very straightforward and comprehensive. And you get the gameplay in there, and you talk about the mechanics, and so it's it's good. So if you guys haven't seen Ballistic Coffee Boys coverage of the 400 Benny, you should check it out, because I mean, even if you're not going to get one, though, it's a really cool little console.
And I was going to add, you know, we're talking about this on Twitter too. A lot of people don't realize that you can load your own ROMs on it.
Yeah.
And it takes 5200 ROMs as well, because the Atari 5200 games are based on the 8-bit computer games, right? So you can play also the XEGS games, the XE games, all the 400 and 800 ROMs too. So it plays a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And what's crazy about the XEGS games is the bit pipelines for some of the games, like for example, Desert Falcon, and I think Food Fight and Mario, because Mario was one of those games that the XEGS version was the best version.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was better than the 7800 version. And it was developed by, in part, I think some of the people who did the dev for the actual arcade version, from my understanding.
I believe so too.
Yeah, and I don't know the details of that, so don't quote me, but that was my understanding from things that I've read in the past. But it is the best version. It's the smoothest. It has the sequences from the arcade version that aren't in any of the other console versions. I'm not sure about the NES version. I can't remember. It's funny though. I don't think the NES version had the arcade sequences in it. So you know how, like, before each level, they do like the little demo scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's only in the XEGS version, as far as I know. But like the 800 version itself was terrible. The 2600 version was god awful.
Oh yeah.
And the 5200 version was. Wait, did they have it on 5200? I just know the 7800. Yeah, which should have been the best. The 7800 should have been the best. It wasn't that great. I feel like the frame rate was like really bad or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the XEGS version used 4 different pipelines for their cartridge, and they used, because you know how the system can do like the memory bank switching or whatever. And I think they had like four different banks to do that on for those games. So that's why some of those games were so well done.
Yeah. And I'd never heard about the XEGS back in the day, but when I saw this on eBay a few years ago, this gun, I was like, wait, was that supposed to be in competition with the NES? And it kind of was and wasn't, right? And so I had to get it because it's so awkward. It's got these egg kind of Easter pastel buttons on the front.
Yeah.
Which is so 87, and but it's
don't tell that to anybody though, because people love to say that the 80s was just brown. It was pure brown, and I'm like, dude, the 80s is not pure brown. I'm like, the carpet may have been brown, the walls may have been brown, but the 80s was far from brown. It was like brown and then like rainbow freaking colors exploding everywhere, gold. Yes. Yeah, it was very what's the word I'm looking for?
Brash?
Majestic. It was majestic. It was pop culture. Like, there's so many different things you could say about the 80s.
Yeah.
It was this hat.
Yes.
So it's awesome. I feel lucky to have lived during that era.
Me too.
And experience. Yeah.
I remember when I was 10 playing, PacMan in my bedroom, whatever, a 2600. I had parachute pants on. I was a big Billy Idol fan. That was the first concert I went to. It was Billy Idol at Six Flags Over Texas in Arlington in 1983. The Rebel Yell tour. There were moms passing out on stretchers, like, it was just terrible. And it was like 100 outside, and that was the coolest concert I've ever seen in my life. And but I had a PacMan shirt on. I was wearing like a pink swatch, probably, or a green swatch. To me, the 80s was very tacky in a way, and just kind of brazen, like over the top.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I did. We had the best cartoons on TV on Saturday. I would watch the cartoons for 3 hours. The PacMan Power Hour Scooby Doo, Mask, Spiral Zone, just all these things. I had such a great time. In
It
the
still
80s.
cracks me up that like it was a common thing in the 80s and even in the 90s to see dudes in makeup and like skin tight jeans and like just very flamboyant or what's the other word that I'm looking for? But you know how it was, and it's like goth was like goth was very like queer or emo or just depending on and then you had punk, and it's like, dude, like all these things that were just like they were just there, and people would say things, but they didn't give a shit. Nobody gave a shit. And now, like, when you see stuff like that, people are like, oh, get that shit out of my face. Like, dude, where am I? What is this? What is happening?
Right.
But it's funny. Yeah, it's funny how people make such a big freaking deal about it. And it's like, who gives a shit? Like, I grew up around, we grew up around that kind of stuff. Like, no wonder we're like queer and weird and all these other things. But it's like we don't care. We don't like try to label it and stuff because that's how it was when we were kids. It wasn't really like labeled. You just saw these people and you're like, oh, all right, that's cool.
Right.
It was just part of our culture growing up. So yeah, so it's just funny how people like over the top react to all that kind of stuff nowadays.
I actually, I have a big vinyl collection. I have about 2,000 vinyl. I used to work at a record store 24 years ago in Dallas that closed down. But on the last day, our manager was like, take whatever you want,
Oh, that's so cool.
I had about 300 records up in my stash area upstairs, and I got to take home everything. The entire Beatles collection, all of the Duran Duran albums, and Depeche Mode, and
wow,
Kraftwerk. I'm a big Kraftwerk fan.
Oh my God.
I got to take all the Kraftwerk. I got a lot of my collection from that, but I have about 2,000 or 3,000, maybe 2,500 now. But I'm a big 80s music fan, and I also like Kraftwerk, things like that.
Kraftwerk. Oh man, there's so many like hidden gem groups that and some of them have like crazy lineages, like all the way up to now even, but that people don't even really know about. But yeah, I am nowhere near close to that, but I do have a ton of vinyl from the 80s. I think I have probably about somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 vinyls kind of stacked up out in my garage. I have not figured out what to do with them. I have a little vinyl. It's actually a vinyl container down by my my V pin over there. And then I have my vinyl player that I got off of Amazon because the other one that I had like when I was growing up, it broke a long time ago. So, but anyways, yeah, I've got a bunch of like super corny Christmas vinyls, like Muppet Christmas vinyl.
Oh yeah.
And
Did you have PacMan Fever as well by Buckner and Garcia?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Michael Bolton, and freaking like some of the really like
I've
funny,
got stuff like that too.
But I mean, those are inherited, obviously. But I've got like Toto and stuff like that.
I love
Scorpions,
Toto.
Police. So lots of really, really good stuff. Yeah.
I like Toto and Fleetwood Mac. I love Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac. It's a good one.
Very underrated. Well, at the time, probably not, but now I feel like maybe.
Vinyl is coming back.
It came back a few times, right?
Yeah, it really has. I was actually, what was it, like a year ago maybe? I was in the mall and there was a vinyl store, like a vinyl shop in the mall with, they had all used vinyl in there. And I'm like, what is this place? They actually have a vinyl store here. This is so weird. And I think they had cassette tapes too. And I was like, wow, I haven't seen a lot of this stuff in forever. Michael Bolton, I celebrate the man's entire collection.
I know that, like, I heard on YouTube recently that Taylor Swift has a vinyl out of her double album that's come out, and it's like $50. So,
oh really?
They still have vinyl out, but man, the prices are going through the roof.
Yeah. Jason. Oh, what was the other one? Wham! I have that Wham
Oh,
album.
Wham, George Michael.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
great stuff.
Yeah.
Everything She Wants. Yeah.
The classics. The
Mm-hmm.
classics. Okay, so I want to ask you, what is your favorite arcade game or arcade era?
You know, my favorite arcade game is the first one I ever played. And it is probably purely for nostalgic reasons, because whenever I was 7, my dad's mother, my grandmother, she was retired, but she was working in the meat area at a Safeway in the town I was born in, near Dallas, and we went in to see her all the time, and she was in her 50s. It was like, I remember it was 1981 and 82, and I would go in there, and well, the first time I saw it was I walked in the grocery store, and I was like, something just snapped in my head with video games. I was like, what is that in the corner? Like, I never noticed it before. And I walked over, and it was Kicks. And
Oh.
I was 7 or 8, and just playing it, the machine's like humming,
Mhm.
wow, 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 and just, the controls, and I just still love that game, the arcade version of Kicks. That was really the first game I really got into, and I played it every time my mom went to the Safeway. I played it, and that was that, and probably Asteroids. But I love Kicks so much as a kid. That really got me into gaming. And still, I have it on the links, of course. I have it on other systems, and on the Game Boy. I've got every version of Kicks you could probably think of, and I still love it. So it was probably, that was my first kind of arcade game that I really got into when I was young. That really got me into arcade games, and and then from there they replaced that later on with Super Mario Brothers, and that just, I sank so many quarters in that for a couple of years. I mean, it's just a fantastic arcade game. And so, yeah, but Kicks, I just, yeah, it's one of the first games I played, so it was a lot of nostalgia for me in like an arcade game. I have to say though, of the cabs I have here at my house, I was talking about Atari 50. I also love the Tron arcade 1-up cab. That's one of my favorites. I was a Tron kid. I was there when the movie came out, and I had the blue Tron Underoos from Kmart. My grandmother bought me blue Frisbees from Kmart, like 10 cents a piece. And I was throwing them around the house and breaking vases.
Oh my God, I was such a Tron dork too. That's so funny.
And the new Tron is coming out next year. And
they
so
they better not screw it up. They better not. Jeff Bridges is going to be in it. I feel like if he's on board, it's like, okay, like he's got, he's got to have some faith in it. And Jared Leto, I know he's like, there's a lot of like mixed kind of feelings about him in the cinematic universe, but I mean, like in Blade Runner, he was freaking amazing. And I've seen him in other movies where I'm just like, God, dude, he's such a good actor. But Dallas Buyers Club, I mean, he was just something else in Dallas Buyers Club. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I just watched somebody's like life story unfold in front of me. I'm gonna go cry in the shower now. And what was the other one? Not Train Spotting, but Requiem for a Dream was like, it was that was like one of the really first movies where I saw Jared Leto. And I was just like, oh, dude, this movie is so messed up. But like him in that movie, his character is just so convincing. But anyways, I think he's a good actor. I mean, there are some movies that maybe weren't his best films, but he did the musician thing when his band first came out, Something to Mars. I think I had their first album, but anyways, I kind of liked it. But he's awesome, and Blade Runner was enough to convince me that he could be a badass, whatever character he plays in the new Tron film. And he's like a huge Tron fan, huge.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm like,
okay.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so I'm just hoping that it's it's gonna go over well.
Yeah, that's probably why, it's probably why it's one of my favorite cabs too. It's, you know, it's got, all the, the black lighting in it. It's got the different lighting. I don't really mod any in my cabs because one, I don't have the time. And then two, I'm kind of scared to screw it up. And three, I'm kind of scared to mess with it. And I just kind of like to leave things how they are.
Yeah.
That's just my own preference. But I love your mod videos because it's just fun to watch, and it gives me ideas for later when I'm retired.
Well,
Or whatever.
Tron is one of those ones that like I think the only thing I did was the S panel, so you can have like the backlit
Oh yeah,
graphic in there, or you can have like a video up there.
right.
And I think the marquee, I think I replaced the marquee. I got a retro 530 marquee. But I kept the original. But yeah, it's one of those ones that I don't really mess with because it is what it is. And I grew up, I played Tron in the arcade. I loved it. I loved that game in the arcade. And I was small when I was little too. And I loved that game. And I was going to say, oh my God, I played it at Disneyland first.
Oh,
That was
wow.
that was like one of the first one in their Starcade. And that I remember playing like that, Star Wars, and a handful of other early 80s games. But it was just so cool. And then obviously I thought the movie was just amazing. The idea of all these guys inside of a computer and they could do these cool things, and Disc Wars, obviously awesome, right?
I mean, the theme music for the movie just gives me chills.
Yeah.
I have the record. I play it sometimes. It's cool.
The
But
original?
yeah, it just gives me chills because
Wendy.
I feel like I'm in the theater watching it.
Mhm.
It's so awesome. But
Yeah.
yeah, just a great movie and a great idea, for a
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah. When I was a kid at Disneyland, they also had the People Movers,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, you'd ride around in the People Movers, and it would go through this part where it was like there was like this tunnel of screens, and it was like you were going through the the Tron thing where it's like sucking you into the computer world.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
so it was a really cool effect. And then as a kid, I was just like, amazed by everything and the sounds and the deep bass of all that. It was cool.
That's awesome. I love that. I feel like I was there with you when you were talking about that. That's amazing. I was gonna say this. I was gonna kind of say this earlier too. I was kind of talking about the like divisions and people and talking about old new Atari whatever. And I try to. I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but on my channel, I try to just bring joy to people. I don't really want to have a lot of topics that are kind of hot topics per se. I mean, I do like recently I talked about Atari bringing the Infogrames label back, and I talked about Google buying and destroying all the Atari headquarters in California, which has already happened. I did bring up those things, but I try to just have fun on my channel and bring joy to people and report the news as well. And I just think there's so much negativity in every community, really. But I see it in the gaming community, and
Mhm.
I see it a lot of times just for clicks and thumbnails. And now I've had a channel now for almost 3 years. It's like I can tell, but I really don't like when content creators just focus on the negative just for the clicks, and it's so obvious to me. And it makes me sick because they're putting that bad juju out in the universe and just walking away. And I just think we have a responsibility to, in a sense. But so I just try to bring joy to people and make people happy and bring the news to people more than anything. And that's also why I like your channel, Jay, because I feel like you do that too. And you try to see both sides of a story as well, or an opinion. And I like when I watch your channel, I know it's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. And I'm not going to be stressed out about something. So, but yeah, so I wanted to say that too.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I mean, the gaming community, there's just a lot of negativity no matter where you go. I mean, I think it's also, you have like viewer negativity and then you have like content creator negativity. And I mean, I don't feed into viewer negativity. I don't even acknowledge it. Like, I let people leave negative comments. I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me. I think, in the past, I've had my beefs with content creators. And that's just more of like to set things straight. Because I've had people, like content creators who I've known, who've just openly lied about, me or whatever. And so yeah, but I really do like to just make the channel enjoyable for people. And make it about gaming. And I've had people complain before, like, oh, I just want this channel to be about gaming. And I'm like, well, it's my channel. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, yes, the overall thing that I don't ever want to lose track of is just the fun aspect of what it is, and I think that there's for me, it's like, there's a stage presence Jade, and then there's like live Jade, who you're talking to right now, who is
Right.
Jade. And stage yeah, stage presence Jade is like, supposed to be that, just fun, and bringing you the information and presenting it in a way that makes it understandable to hopefully everyone or most people. But I agree. Like, I try to keep it pretty positive, and if I'm talking about stuff, I usually do it on lives where people can like rebuttal what I'm saying or
Right.
discuss it. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with somebody telling me that I'm wrong either, and being able to prove it, So but I totally agree that even if people don't agree, it should still, like, people should be able to be civil about it and have like conversations about things. But I think there's just those people that are just kind of like bitter assholes, and that's just kind of where they've let themselves go. And unfortunately, as much as I would like to, like, help those people keep themselves from being that way, like, it's one of those things that you can't avoid in the
Yeah.
space.
Right. And it's, I always think, are they doing it just for the clicks? Or I won't mention any names, but there are just some real popular gaming channels out there, and it's just every video is negative. Atari's terrible this, and that's also something that that I face, is a lot of Atari hate. And a lot of it is probably from the crash, but a lot of it's probably just what people have heard from other people, right? Like, have these people ever really played like Atari arcade games? Probably not. So it's kind of like, I feel like maybe they're just repeating other opinions in the community, kind of with ignorance. But I wanted to say about your situation too. I know you talked about a couple of real life situations on your channel, and I've 100% had your back on that. I don't agree with any of that, and so I feel like you did need to say something, because if not, that crap just goes on and gets worse. So I'm glad you did say something, and I just thought it was terrible. So I
mean, I appreciate your support. I really do. It's in, again, to me, it's just one of those things where I'm going about my business, and that's just, it's like you're trying to do your thing. You're trying to enjoy doing it. And I definitely will say that it can get to a point where the negativity rubs off on you enough to where it makes you not want to do it, or just step away for a while or something. And I've had to recalibrate a couple times, and I think where I'm at now is a lot better, just as far as like the way that I function and operate on YouTube and social media in general. But I'm also not afraid to, if I feel like it's really necessary, or like I feel like it's something that I do want to say, like, I'm not afraid to voice my opinion either. And I know I'm sure that you're, as much as you aim for positivity, that if you felt you needed to say something, you would, or you have. So
oh yeah, I have. A couple of times that I have, I did I do talk about the old versus new Atari thing quite a bit because I think it's silly.
Mm.
You know, whether or not you think it's the same
I didn't
company or
even
not,
know. I didn't even know that that was like
a
as
thing.
that big of a thing. Yeah, because
It is, yeah. And you know, it's not a big deal to me. I love new, I love old Atari.
Mhm.
So, you know, is it the same company? I mean, yes and no. You know, it's the same name. Yes, it's been changed over 4 or 5 times, but it's been Infogrames for over 20 years. So, people that say it's changed hands, it's been Infogrames since the early thousands, you know. So, basically. And yes, it's not the same. Of course, it's different, you know. But for people just to kind of keep that the negative Atari thing going, it's old to me and I hate it. So I just try to focus on the stuff I love about all of their consoles on my channel. You know, from the 2600 to the handhelds to the computers. Even I'm a big Atari computer fan. I think I have every computer but the Falcon.
Mm.
But I love the computers as well, and I try to feature all of it. It's a lot to talk about, so I'd never run out of ideas. You know, there's
Yeah,
always something to
yeah.
do a video about in the
Lots
Atari
lots of
world.
content. Yeah.
Yes.
I I've got a couple videos in the pipes. Like I actually have scripted out a couple. But one of them is going to be the Atari remakes that came out in the mid 90s on like PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and so just kind of like re going back and looking at those again and kind of talking about what my experience was like with those. So that's one that I have that's in the pipes for Atari. And then I have a couple of other ideas as well. So what do you have? Do you have anything in the works right now as far as stuff that's coming out in the next month, aside from
Well,
news?
you know, it's funny you asked that. I just picked this up to show you this. It kind of ties into this, but um, I have a lot of interests outside of Atari. So one thing I did recently was I have a new show called Tiger Bling, and it's basically about Tiger Electronics products. And I have this
Oh,
fascination with some of their stuff because a lot of it's tacky and weird and strange, and
dude,
you know,
I did too. I still have some of it, but yes, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
no, it's cool. But like, for instance, I got this the other day. It's a Play It Now, uh, a personal digital music recorder with
Mm,
Atari. So it actually has 6 little 8-bit Atari games you can play on it.
yeah,
And I've never even knew this was out in the early thousands. It's got Adventure, it's got Lunar Lander, and you play it on the screen and you play your MP3s. And so this is a pretty cool device. I mean,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And so that's why, and a lot of the stuff is really cheap on eBay. So, but did you know that there is a game called the Thumb Thing where you wrestle a robotic thumb with your own thumb? I mean, weird stuff. And and the R Zone, of course, and the game.com. But I talk about all that on
Yeah,
on this show. It's just so fascinating. And
yeah.
I build it up to be more than it is because it's fun. And there are some things that I actually love. I probably have over 100 Tiger products. Since I've been collecting about 6 months ago. I have a like electronic Tiger chessboard down here. I have you know, uh the Arizona XPG, of course, which is, it's kind of like a car accident you can't stop looking at. But that's why I love their products because they're so weird. You know, they're so weird
Yeah.
and unusual,
See that? Oh
and
my God. It's
I
a
like that.
sickness. It's a sickness that we
It
both
is a
share.
sickness. It is a
Yeah.
sickness. But I love talking about it. So I have a new Circle Tiger Bling, but I also do that Atari show every couple of weeks. And I talk to old and new devs. I talk about Atari news, old and new, company news, and I shout out other creators. I shouted you out recently because you are a Atari lover. So I
Yeah.
talked about
Yeah.
you and your
I
channel is
was I
just
was there,
fantastic.
right?
Yeah,
I think it
you
was a
were.
premiere video.
You
Yeah.
were there, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it wasn't longer, but it gets to the point where I'm like, oh, I have 2 minutes, okay, you know, or it's, you
How
know.
dare you not allot me 5 full minutes?
Jade, I want to have you on the show. I want to interview you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd
so
love to.
I'm gonna have you on and grill you like you're grilling me. And I'm just kidding. But it'll be
Okay.
fun. It'll be fun.
I just real quick, I have to say, so the Tiger thing, there, I always had this idea in my head that like the little Tiger handhelds were somehow going to be like the arcade, even as I'm looking at the package and I'm like, it's going to be the arcade in my hand. and you play it and you know it's shitty, but you're like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And that was like my thing with Tiger. And then the Gamecom came out and it wasn't great, but it was the first handheld with a touch screen. And then they had games like Resident Evil,
and it connected to the internet.
Yeah, Fighting Vipers. It had a modem kit and Sonic, and it had all these like actually really cool games. And Resident Evil 2, I played it all the way through and beat it on there. So anyways, the Gamecom was kind of like their last hurrah for me, but I still have it. I still have the Gamecom. Matthew says, Jade, thanks to you, I just got my first cap, the SF2 Deluxe. I love it. Just got RetroArch on it. Again, thanks to you. Appreciate the soft mod tutorial. New subscriber, I need help choosing buttons. Maybe you can help me. First of all, you're very welcome. And that's why I make those videos. So I'm really glad that it helped you find something that you like and are falling in love with. And as far as buttons go, if you want convex, then I would go with gold leaf. And if you want, convex, concave, go with gold leaf. And then if you want convex, go with crown semduxa. Now, both of those are plug and play. They're very easy to install. You don't have to change anything out. You just literally like pull the buttons out, unscrew them, pull them out, and then screw your new ones in and plug them back in. And those, you can go to tmolding.com to get those. So that would be my two recommendations, depending on what you want. Go that route. So convex, crown, samduxa. Yeah, Sam Duck. Yeah. You'll see him there though, tmolding.com. Actually, maybe I could just pull it up for you real quick if you don't mind, Brian. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Let me get on over here. Wow, we killed it on the timeline tonight. Like we had plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah, and we could probably go on for 5 more hours if you wanted to.
Yeah, probably. All right, so you're going to go to tmolding.com and you're going to go to push buttons. So I'm going to show you right here. And where is it? Where'd you go? Arcade parts. And then you're going to go to push buttons. And right here, you can select from concave or convex. Now, concave, you're going to select that. If you want the gold leaves, you're going to scroll down and you'll see these. These are the gold leaves. And again, they're just plug and play. So you just pop the arcade ones out, screw these ones in, and then plug them in. And they have a lot of cool colors to choose from as well. And then your other option is going to be crown samduxa. And these, again, are direct plug and play. And these are, if you want to go convex, these are more Japanese style. They are. And they're great. These are really great. And you're going to want the 30 millimeters for either of those. So, and they have a lot of cool colors with the crown samduxa. They have transparent. So lots of cool things there. So I hope that helps. And good journey. Do the wires? Yeah, the wires. Everything is plug and play. That's what I'm saying. That's why those are the best option, in my opinion. If you're doing that, I know a lot of people will say HAP, Suzo HAP, and those are great. But for an arcade one up, I really think that Gold Leaf or Crown Samduxa. So yeah. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up here. It's been an absolute delight to have you on, and I thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me and come on and talk about Atari and nerd stuff. And
pleasure is all mine. When you asked me, Jade, I was thinking before you asked me a few months before, I was like, I would love to have Jade on my channel, but I'm probably too small. She's probably busy. And the fact that you asked me before I asked you, I was just floored because I love your channel. So you definitely have to be on that Atari show now.
Yeah, no,
But, yeah.
I'm totally down. Just let me know. I mean, you know how it is, busy schedules and stuff.
Oh
But
yeah,
I mean,
and you have a family. I don't. I have 2 chihuahuas and a kitty. So but I do.
that's a family. It's a family.
It is. And they got me through COVID too. But I work like 70 hours a week, and my YouTube channel takes like 15, 20 hours a week. So I'm pretty busy too. But we can work it out. But I just want to say you are fantastic. You're one of my favorite creators, and you just have a great channel, great personality because you're you. And so I'm definitely a fan for life. So I'm so honored that you asked me to come on.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And again, I really appreciate it. And chat, I appreciate y'all. Chris Harris, what's up? Probably lurking because he's a quiet guy. Good to see you. Let's see. And Jason's throwing up a link here for BCB's channel. And again, everyone, I will leave the links to the videos that we did watch today in the description for the Atari and as well as Indie Arcade Wave. And make sure you guys check the Indie Arcade Wave out. Give them a sub. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. So until next time, I will see you guys then.